Hello everybody. Nick at 8 Leg Outdoors and Parker Ridge wanted me to do a sewing video, and there's going to be a lot of talking about the sewing machine and telling you about that and everything. So if you don't want to know nothing about sewing, then you might as well just quit now, because this is going to be a boring video. But I'm going to try to keep it short. And I got my first little bunch of leather the other day. I found a place where I can buy leather scraps at, and I made this sheath for my Moore knife. Pretty simple, you know. This is the first leather sheath I've ever made, and I got lucky it was thin enough that my sewing machine would sew it. But if you'll notice, there's no loop or nothing on it to attach it to anything. So anyway, so this is going to be a instructional sewing type video, and I believe it's going to be boring as I'll get out. We'll just have to see how it goes, you know. And I'm going to be talking a lot about the sewing machine. Hi, Peanut. Oh, Peanut, you can see me. There's Peanut. Put me down. Put me down. There you go, Peanut. You go on now. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Okay, like I said, this is going to be some basic instructional stuff on the sewing machine. And this is a bobbin. This is the bobbin casing. And there's a little slit right here that the thread goes in. And then it goes down behind this spring. This is a spring right here. And if you notice, it has a screw. That screw right there sets the tension on the bobbin. If you're having loose stitches or looped stitches on top, if your thread on top is loose, you need to tighten that screw just a little bit. Now, some of the let's see, what am I going to call these things? I want to call them Walmart sewing machines. Like the Walmart sewing machines or whatever, they'll have this same setup here. Now what you want to do is, to set your bobbin in here, you want to hold it to where the thread's coming off the top. See the thread right there? It's coming off the top of the bobbin. And lay it in your casing, and then pull the thread down through that slit, and behind the bobbin spring. See, I can feel tension on it. Okay, and carry off. And then it'll go in your machine. You'll have to probably check your owner's manuals to see how the bobbin goes in, or where it goes into. I told you this was going to be very basic. Okay. By the way, I got to see, I watched a video today while I was at work. Armed Rogue was doing some sewing, and she's got a handle on it, that's for sure. Okay. Now, your thread's going to come down. It's going to come down through a series of holes that will tell it where to go, guide it. And it'll go around the tensioner. Should be something with a knob and a spring, or yeah, spring and a knob on it. Make sure it goes through that tensioner, and then it'll go through the slack take-up arm up here. It's hard to see that thing. Okay, there it is. This right here is your slack take-up arm. You see it moves up and down. It'll come down off that, through your guides, through your tensioner, through your take-up arm, down through your needle. And it matters whether you go to the left or to the right. Whenever you put your thread in, some of them goes in the front. You'll have to check the manual on it to see where it goes at on your machine. Okay. Now you've got a lever over to your right, and what that does is that'll make it sew backwards. And you got as it's sewing, see that foot walks. What did I just make a mess? Kitty cat got my thread all tangled up here. Dang it, Prince. Devil cat. That's why my thread broke. Yeah, if your thread starts breaking and stuff, you either need to change the needle or your thread is tangled up somewhere in all these works up here. I'm trying to do this with the camera in front of me. Okay. So your bobbin thread will come up through the bottom. Comes up through that hole in the bottom. And this is your needle thread. Here's your needle thread, and here's your bobbin thread. Now this right here is one of the most important things that I can tell you, is that your bobbin thread, you only want like 1/4 of an inch sticking out of that hole, okay? And then whenever you take off sewing, your needle thread, back this up just a little bit. Your needle thread that comes out of the needle, you want to leave it long and have your hand on it whenever you start to sew. And that's because if your bobbin thread is too long, or you don't hold your needle thread at the top, then all of that will get wrapped around the bobbin and gum up the whole works whenever you first take off. And you'll just end up with a big old mess. Okay, let me reposition this camera. Okay, now I'm not gonna make nothing fancy, but I've got all these knife sharpening tools here that I use, and I can't never keep them all in the same place, so I'm gonna make me some kind of bag or carrier or whatever for them. But I'm gonna do some basic sewing stuff so that you can see how it's done. Okay, remember now, you got short thread coming out of the bottom and long thread on the top. And I'm going to hem this piece all the way around. So what I'm going to do is fold a half and another half. It don't have to be perfect because it's just mine. It's just something I'm going to use. So, and I saw Rogue had pinned hers today, and you can do that if you want. You can hem it over and then put a couple pins in it. But I've done this a while, so I don't really need to do that. You know, sometimes, you know, if you want to get it good and straight and all that, you might do that. Okay. a short thread on the bottom, long thread on the top. And I've got my hem. I'm gonna put my 2 fingers on there. And see my long thread coming out of the needle? I'm gonna put my hand on it there. You always want to back tack like that. You want to sew about 1 inch and then sew back on it. And there's no reason to get in a big hurry. Straighten this side here. Hang on, I'll be back with you. Okay. So we're coming up to the corner here, and I'm going to want to hem this side too. So before I get to the corner, I'm going to stop. And anytime you stop and make adjustments, make sure that your needle is down. You just turn your hand wheel over here until your needle is down, and don't never turn the hand wheel backwards. You always pull it towards you, because if you turn it backwards, then it'll gum everything up in there. Just sew into the corner. Make sure your needle's down. And then you can raise your foot, which is going to be behind here on a regular sewing machine. You lift a little lever back here. Get your needle down, lift your lever, and then spin your part. And then let your lever back down. Okay. So now you do the same down this side. Coming up to the corner again. So I'm going to fold my next side down, get my half by half hem, and then sew into the corner again. Raise your foot, spin it, let it back down. Now start down this way. You don't want to hold back, and you don't want to try to push it through. You want to just let the machine do the pulling. May have went too far that time. Make sure my needle's down. Fold this up. Now if you get real close to the edge like this, you can always walk it. Walk it with your hand wheel until you get in there where you want to be. Now raise your foot, spin it, and take off down this way. this thing to sew slow, you're not going to be able to try to gently push the pedal down until it catches on an electric machine, because they want to go all at once. So what you got to do is pat it. You know, pat your foot like you're patting the gas. Like if you're spinning in the snow and you want to quit spinning, you pat the gas trying to keep it from spinning. That's the way you have to start a sewing machine to get it to go slow. So you just pat your foot till you can get it to take off. And like I said before, if you come up to a corner and afraid it's going to take off, you can work your hand wheel. Always grab it at the top and pull it towards you. And then that will, see, I'm just walking it. That will let you get into that corner real easy and slowly like you want to do. So whenever you are getting ready to take your piece of work out of the sewing machine, you need to walk your needle around with your hand wheel until it just touches the material, and then back up just a little bit. Okay, and then pull it out. So you know your bobbin thread, cut it off at 1/4 inch, and your top thread, you want to cut it and leave it long so you can hold it when you take off. Yeah, I gummed it up. Shoot, I lost my concentration. Okay, so that's how you hem something. And you know, pretty much if you can hem something, you can just about sew anything. So I'm gonna call it quits there and let you guys go on. The only way you're gonna learn to do this is practicing, but that's just a few pointers on the sewing machine, okay? If you get loose stitches on the bottom, loop stitches, loose stitches, like you get loops on the bottom, then you need to tighten your top tension just a little bit, which my tensioner is right here. You just tighten that tensioner a little bit, and that'll tighten your stitches on the bottom. Okay. So I'm gonna call it quits there. You guys go check out 8 Leg Outdoors and Parker Ridge. I love their channels. Parker Ridge is a farmer. He's the backbone of the United States here. You know, they feed us. And if anybody can't see that, then they're crazy. So that's my service announcement for today in my little sewing video. So y'all take care.